Whenever you're studying for a test and preparing for a test in a class, you might have run across the question, well, how much will this help my grade if I study one more hour? Or how much will my test grade improve if I study for 1 or 2 more hours? Or you might have looked at it from a different perspective and said, well, if I made a 90 on this test, how much would that change my total grade in the class? All these are examples of a marginal analysis. With marginal analysis, you are concerned or you are looking at what is the change? If I change this, then what will happen? If I study for 1 more hour, what will be my increase in the grade on the test? Or if I got a 90 on this test, what will be my new final grade? Or if I got a 85 on the test, versus what would I get on a 95 on a test, and what would that do to my final grade? What does that change do for me? If I maybe correct a test and the instructor allows you to correct the test and gives you points back on that, how much will that change your final grade? That's all looking at it from a marginal analysis standpoint. In economics, our economists are often concerned with what happens in the margin. They're not concerned so much with what is the total effect. We're looking at how does a little change affect us? So if we were to ask a question, now keep in mind the key component as we're going through this is that marginal analysis looks at the change. So if we ask a question from the microeconomic standpoint of something along the lines of how will using one more input, we're changing the number of inputs, affect my business? So the marginal analysis might look at using 1 more pound of fertilizer will increase my revenue by $50 and increase my cost by $75. So if your revenue is going up by 50 but your cost is increasing by 75, you actually lose $25. So you would actually not want to use that 1 more input because you're actually going to lose profit off of it. Your total profit's actually going to go down because it's going to cost you more than what it takes to make it, or than what you'll receive for it. And that's a very important concept of the marginal analysis, is you're looking at how, if I changed my number of inputs by, say, 1 input, or if I look at how 1 more unit will change my overall profit, and you're looking at how 1 additional or 1 less input will affect something. That's the marginal analysis. If we look at it from a macroeconomic standpoint, we might ask something like, how will a change in tax rate affect the nation's output? So in this, we're looking at a change. How does a change in something affect something else? If we change this, then what will happen? So if we look at it from the macroeconomic standpoint in a margin analysis, and we might say, if you increase the tax rate by 5%, the nation's output will fall by 6%. So we're looking at a change of the tax rate yields a change in the output. And we're looking at that marginal analysis, how it's changing. So why would we look at the marginal analysis and not, say, a total analysis? Well, let's look back at that microeconomics question. From that microeconomic standpoint, we said that the revenue will increase by $50, cost will increase by 75. Well, what if you use that 1 more pound of fertilizer and that total profit was still at $3.25? We're not worried about what it was before. We're looking at what that profit is now with that 1 more pound of fertilizer. And that 1 more pound of fertilizer, your profit's still at $3.25. You're still in the black. You're still doing good. So you might think, well, if I'm still making money, then it must be a good thing to use that extra pound of fertilizer. But in reality, what we find out is that by using that 1 extra pound of fertilizer, yes, you're still doing okay, you're still in the black, but you could have been making more by using 1 less pound of fertilizer. So it's looking at, if you look at it from the total standpoint, you don't know what it was before, and you might say $3.25, we're still in the black, we're still doing good. We're going to use that extra pound of fertilizer, but you could have been doing better. And that aspect of could have been doing better will be shown in that marginal analysis. Let's look at the same thing from a total analysis on the macroeconomic question. So we said with the tax increase, the nation's output is still $350 trillion, hypothetically, right? And we say, okay, that's still good. We're still producing a lot of goods. We're still doing good. But in reality, before that tax increase, it was, or it could have been at 372 trillion. But you may not know that, and you may not see that, and you still think that this $350 trillion is a good number. But you wouldn't have known that unless you looked at it from the marginal analysis. So economists are very concerned with what happens in the margin. And the margin very simply means it's a change. If we change this, then what will happen?